Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with my Sunday's Art of Truth for February the 19th. We will be creating using this beautiful image of this girl with all these beautiful flowers, and then her basket is full of flowers. And the inspiration for this project comes from a quote that I found in Bella magazine. I will link that magazine, and I will also give you the page number that this is found on. I get them digitally, which I absolutely love, but it says, "So plant your own gardens and decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers." And that's by Jorge Luis Borges. And I'm probably not saying that last name right. I'm probably not saying it right, so forgive me. So that's our quote. That's going to be our main message. So if you want to check out the inspiration for this project, you can head on over to the blog at B.Rebornart.com. The link will be in the description box, and you can check out the inspiration as well as all of my supplies are linked over there, because I have too many supplies to link in the YouTube description box. I get an error that says it's too many. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then you also get the benefit of a ton of close-up photos, because I really zoom in and get the texture and all of that we're creating. So let me talk about supplies really quick. I have grabbed probably an overabundance of stencils. These are all Sean Petit stencils, just because I like to not have to get up and get more stencils and kind of fuss around that way. So these are kind of the things I flip through my binder, and I just kind of think about my project, think about what kind of message I'm trying to create and what look I want, and then I will pick those stencils. So we've got this beautiful floral one that I thought would be fun, and then this one is also a great stencil. This one, and then I thought this might, I don't know if I'll use this one because it's awfully small, but we'll see. We're going to be doing a lot of layering of the background pieces, and then some words. So I love this stencil. It's called Dictionary Page, and I just love it because it talks about beauty, journey, joy, and courage. As you can tell, all of my stencils are very well used. This is one of my favorites, and that's all acrylic paint. I don't clean my stencils very well, but I use them all for mixed media, so not really concerned about a crisp impression. So there we go. So these are just the start of the supplies. Usually when I get going in the process, I find that there's more that I'm being inspired by, and so I grab that stuff as well. So this is just the start. This doesn't include my modeling paste or crackle paint or anything else I might want to pull in. I do have, I'm not sure why I pulled the gold gesso. I must have had an idea, so we've got it here if we need it. And I am going to be using this Tim Holtz collage paper because I thought it would be a nice transparent layer on this project. So it's got these beautiful flowers. So we may or may not use that. We will see. And there we go. And then I've got some, these are golden artist acrylics in yellow medium, quinacridone red, or rose red. I thought I grabbed the rose. Quinacridone red, sap green hue, and then this kind of limey green, because I want to bring in a couple of tones of green into this. This is called Brilliant Yellow Green. So these are all artist acrylics. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, you don't have to use artist grade paint, but this is my jam, and so I have a supply of them. I like them. I also use craft acrylics. I've done that in a couple of the pages in my journal. So that being said, we are going to be working in my mixed media journal. This is my 2023 journal, and let's just look a bit. These are some of the pages that we've already done on camera. This was a couple weeks ago. I kind of gave myself the freedom to not create a Sunday's Art of Truth every week because it's a lot. Because my Sunday's Art of Truth, they don't just happen. They're not contrived. They come from some kind of inspiration, something that I'm processing in my life. And so I gave myself that freedom to just do every other week. So that is the one we did as well. That's gorgeous, Pages of Life. And then this one It was called Magical Opportunities, and this was where I wrote about an encounter with an older couple in Costco. So I was writing about how important it is to capture those moments. And then this was the very first one we did in the new journal, and it's called Soulful Creativity. So that's just a little bit of a look at what we've done so far. So here we are on this page. And if I did this if I did this again, I would not bind it as I did, because I've got some really hard folds here that I'm going to have a really hard time getting my papers to lay down. So, but we're going to work with it because that's what we have. So I have a variety of collage papers. These are all also from SeanPetite.com collage packs, and just a variety of things that I can bring in. Some colors in the background, some text in the background, some vintage in the background. I thought this would be lovely to bring out some of the green in the focal image. And then I probably won't use all of these, but I like to just grab a bunch. So that's what we've got going on. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the flip over. I'm going to move my oh, I forgot to mention I've got my raw umber fluid acrylic and my glazing medium. You guys know I love to do that. I'm using Liquitex fluid matte medium. So I'm going to move my book because I need the space to work here and tear my papers. I like to use my tear ruler. Doesn't really matter because they're all going to be overlapping, but I just prefer it when I'm on camera because I can just tear and I don't have to worry about being in shot and all of that. So we're going to flip to the switch. We're going to flip to the voiceover. I just wanted to talk with you a quick moment about how I choose my papers. So I like to grab a lot of different tones, different scripts, different text, as well as some images that bring out the colors in the focal image. So I use some green, I think it's vintage wallpaper from Sean Petite. Again, all of these digitals or all these papers are from SeanPetite.com collage packs. So I don't end up using all of these pieces, but you'll be able to see that as we move along. I like to have plenty on hand. I can use these scraps at another point in time on another project. So I'm going to start by putting the papers down with my Liquitex fluid matte medium. That's my preferred adhesive here in this case because it's nice and thin and it's easy application. So I'm going to go ahead and just let you watch the collage process here, and I'll come back with you in a moment. I also do like to kind of arrange my papers. I do it fairly randomly, but I like to have multiple pieces of the same image spread out across both pages. A lot of this does not show through, and as we continue on in the process, you will notice that a good chunk of the center section of the spread is going to be covered over with my focal image. That being said, for me, the process of getting these collage papers down is part of my creative flow. So it's really important for me to just cover the whole surface. It's just paper. It's all printed on 20-pound regular copy paper, so it's not a big deal. And again, it helps me to stay in the flow and not feel I don't like to feel disjointed in my process. So you're going to see there, I put a green up at the top and then in the lower right-hand corner and the lower left side. So there you go. You may also notice that I have text that's going sideways, and that is perfectly fine as well. There were parts of these collage papers that I really wanted to show in the end, one being this. It's one of Sean Petit's collage packs with that red spot is a wax seal impression. And I really wanted that to show, but it didn't end up showing. I mean, you can see some of the dark passages underneath some of the texture that we add here as we go along, but a lot of it doesn't show. Like if you look really close, you can see the text. If you look really close, you can see that green wallpaper design. But we do, again, in mixed media, you have to let go of your background in order to move on to the next step, because you can get really stuck in that place where you've fallen in love with your background. Like this background was amazing, one of my best actually. In terms of like the composition and how it's laid out and how the colors are spread out, and the tones were all really beautiful. So giving that a quick dry and then just a close up here for you, but really, really beautiful, very enjoyable. So we're going to go in with some gesso and kind of push back some of that paper. I'm just going to get a plate out here. For some reason, this gesso that I got, I don't know if it's old, but I do not like it. It's Liquitex, but I think it might be Liquitex, another level of gesso, and I don't like it. It gets chunks in it and stuff. So I'm just using my palette knife, kind of a longer, pointier one, and I'm just using that to kind of do some skipping around with the gesso. Again, this does two things. It pushes back some of that really vibrant color, and it also creates texture. Gesso is one of the easiest ways to make texture. You can use gesso through stencils. You can put it on as I'm doing. You can apply it with a brayer. And it's just really versatile. So if you're beginning to explore mixed media, get yourself a bottle of gesso and play around, because it is amazing. It has so many different uses, and it's affordable, and it's one product. You don't need a gazillion products like I have. I've been doing mixed media for about 4 or 5 years now, so I've built up a lot of supplies over time. So there again, we had a quick dry, and then we're going to go in with some stenciling. I like to bring in some dark into the background. So I'm using my Black Soot archival ink, and this is one of Sean Petit's stencils. All of these supplies will be listed over on my blog, and a link to the blog can be found in the description box, as well as a ton of close-up photos. So I hope that you'll head over and check it out. As well, as I mentioned, this is my Sunday's Art of Truth for Sunday the 19th, and the inspiration is a quote that I read in a magazine, in Bella magazine. Says, "So plant your gardens and decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers." So that's the inspiration for this project, and I'll be writing about that over on my blog, so you can check that out as well. This was really a great step because this black did show through, and it just creates this really kind of mysterious background that helps to give your project some depth that it is lacking oftentimes when you're just working with one layer or one color, or kind of the same tones. So it's really versatile. Again, you do want to use archival ink. I will say that right now, because when I go in with paint, that ink is not going to move. So I would invest also in some archival ink. Vintage Photo, Black Soot are great ones, but make sure that they are archival inks. So coming in now with my Liquitex flexible modeling paste, and this is another Sean Petit stencil. It's called Dictionary Pages, and it has these great definitions of joy and courage, and I can't remember all that it says. I don't have it in front of me, but this was beautiful. This was very different for me. I normally stencil with patterns, and these texts were epic. I really, really loved how they turned out. So I'm going to be doing that in 3 places around the spread, and then we'll be doing a dry. Now I do come in and put some more texture on, and that hides some of that text, but the way it peeks through is just awesome. So I am drying that now, and I did head to the sink to wash my stencil. If you leave that texture paste on, it will ruin your stencil. So there's just a close-up of the texture, as well as that script texture. And so, yeah, you do want to make sure this is very, very dry, because if you don't wait for modeling paste to get really crispy and hard, when you apply any kind of wet medium on top, it's going to tend to want to soften it. And in mixed media, it doesn't ruin anything, but I'll show you a little bit later where I did have a spot that was not completely dry, and I'm going to kind of point at that, and I'll talk to you about it when we get there. So I'm now coming in with my Deco Art Crackle Paint. As you know, it's scarcely a video that goes by that I don't use it, because I just love the effect. I did go a little bit more sparing on the application in this spread, but it was absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So where I just applied it there at the upper part of the right page, I did deliberately go over some of that text that we just created with the modeling paste and the dictionary definition. So but you'll see how the effect that it gives is just really, I keep using this word mysterious, because it is mysterious, because it kind of leaves you wondering, like, what's underneath. And also, you may notice that I am putting the texture and everything all over the spread. Again, that is just part of my process, because, what happens if I change my mind about my focal image? What would happen if I changed my mind about a focal image at all? Then I would have this hole in the center of my spread that I wouldn't be able to work with. It would be very difficult. So again, another dry. I did forget to turn the camera on, as I'm going to show you here. I applied Naples Yellow Hue. It's a golden fluid acrylic, because I needed to get some color down in order to move through creatively to the next step. I just was not really feeling it, like where I really wanted to go, and that allowed me to get a little bit of color down, which excites me, and yellow is my favorite color, so that was fun. So now we're going to do my infamous raw umber glaze. So I'm going to use my golden raw umber fluid acrylic and golden glazing medium. And we're going to create a glaze, and in case you haven't seen me do this before, you might gasp when you see me apply this brown paint to the entire spread. But hold on and watch what happens. What this this combination allows is for me to apply that that paint and glazing medium across the entire spread, and then I can wipe it up, and it leaves that brown in all of the crevices of the texture that we've created on this base. The recipe for this is 1 part paint to 2 parts glazing medium. At least that's what I do. And so I'm just covering the entire spread with the brown, this brown solution. And then we're going to wipe it up with a baby wipe. I'm going to let you watch that. This is where we bump into where I didn't, on the very right hand edge of the right page, the texture was not completely dry. You know what? I don't think it's this step, because I do add another layer of some texture. My apologies, guys. It's been 24 hours since I filmed this, so with my old brain, I forget very easily. So again, we're just I use a baby wipe. You could use a wet paper towel. It's totally up to you. Oh no, it is on here. I'm so sorry, guys. Don't even know if I talked about that. I must have done that texture when the camera was off. So we've got this texture on the right side. It's like this little scalloped kind of shape. It's called Mediterranean. It's a Mediterranean stencil from Sean Petit, but I guess I must have done that when I forgot to turn the camera on, so my apologies. So same process, I apply it in several places, and this is on the right side. That texture paste was not completely dry, so we did dry one more time. My video is getting ahead of me here. And so right there where you see it kind of clumped up, that is where the texture paste was not dry, but I actually love the effect that it had because it created even more texture. And that to me is the beauty of mixed media, is there's a lot of happy accidents, especially if you like that grungy, unpredictable feel. So I am coming in with quinacridone red. This is a high flow acrylic and titanium white. Now, in retrospect, I did not need to use this product because I could have done it just with a regular paint with my golden acrylic paints, but I'm not sure what I was thinking or why. I think I originally thought I'd like to kind of run it along the top of the spread and have it run down the page, but I did not end up doing that. I really just wanted to get some of the red in here because my focal image has some really beautiful pink flowers. But as you can see, that red is very vibrant. And so I'm going to go in with the white as well. This is titanium white, high flow. And that's going to help us get more of a pinky look. And then I think I come in with a baby wipe as well and just kind of pounce around and leave just a trace of that pink. I didn't want it to overtake the background. And it was a perfect balance. Like, I'm looking at it as I'm doing the voiceover, and this is one of my favorite spreads, the way that it turned out. It was really a pure joy to create it. And as I'm creating, I'm always thinking about the inspiration and the story that I'm telling as I create it, and what's in my heart and mind, which again you can read over on the blog. This one was really meaningful to me, and so I find that when I create very inspirationally from a heart place, I have much more success with my artistic process as well. It doesn't feel as disjointed, it doesn't feel as forced, or performance. It doesn't have that performance feel. It feels very free. So I would encourage you to really get in and play, because and just let your heart guide you. And I know that can be challenging if that's a new concept for you, but it is very fun, and I am always happy with the results. So I'm going to let you go ahead and watch here a little bit, and we will be drying after this is done. Here's just a close-up again of all that beautiful color along with the texture. Really, really satisfying. And as you can see, we do see some of that stencil through, as well as some of the other papers, which is really epic. So now I'm going to come in with, this is the yellow medium, and I apologize, it does have a name in front of yellow medium, starts with a B, but I can never say it, and I don't have it in front of me, so my apologies. So I'm using that yellow and going over all the raised sections of the stenciling, not the words, the text that we put down, but the other texture that we created with the other stencil that you did not see. I've used it before and it will be linked, so you guys can check it out if you like that look. You'll be able to see all of this really well in the close-up photos at the end of the video if you'll hang on and get all the way to the end. I definitely wanted the yellow to be the star in this project because the yellow flowers were what really inspired me. Yellow is my favorite color, and I just love the free feeling of the image that I picked, which I believe I mentioned at the beginning is an image from Pixabay. Pixabay is a great site for getting inspiration, as well as you can print out their stuff that's copyright free. They do appreciate when you credit the creator or the photographer or whoever provided that that particular image. So I always link them in my videos or in my supply list. So I will be linking the video. Oh my goodness, I will be linking the picture. So I've used them in tons of projects, and they're such a range of images to choose from, and it's no cost. You just have to enroll, you have to create an account, but it's epic. I love it. Not sure why I'm moving so slow there. I must have altered the speed of that clip. Goodness gracious. I guess to show you another close-up. So there you can see the yellow sitting on top of that texture of that Mediterranean stencil. Really, really beautiful. And then just kind of playing around with looking at, was that enough in my background? And I believe that is where I ended. I do dance a little bit back and forth, adding a little bit more yellow, adding a little bit more white to that texture, but you'll be able to see that here in a moment. I did take some of my Payne's Gray, this is golden acrylic, artist acrylic, mixed it with a little bit of water. It's a bluish gray color, and I wanted to bring out a darker tone in the top layer here by using that color, because in the image, the focal image, there is some stones and gravel that I felt would really, this paint would really help it to kind of pull together and tie into the whole end product. So we're going to go ahead and dry again. Another close-up with the splatters. The splatters always give it a real magical look, I think, so I often do splatters on these kinds of projects. Again, I slowed that clip down. So strange to watch. Sorry about that. So now I lost the dimension of my words that I had stenciled, and so one of the techniques you can use is to go over it either with a baby wipe and just kind of try to wipe that off, or in this case I put a little bit of alcohol on my baby wipe, but as you can see there, it pulled everything up and left a big white spot, which I didn't want. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of that quinacridone red high flow acrylic and just cover that back up. And I do just squirt some out on my little plate there to the right of me, and just use my finger to go over just the word texture, and it helped them to pop out a little bit more. And it did definitely have an effect in the final product, which you will be able to see again in the photos at the end of the video. Just be watching for that script. Really, really beautiful. But when you do that, you do have to keep in mind that it's going to pull up everything that it touches if you're especially if you're using it on a baby wipe. So that's why I got that white spot. But you can see there on the left, you can begin to see that those words a little bit better. And I do go here and there, just a little bit, a touch here and there. And then here's just a close-up of that as well. So you can kind of see how it lightened up that area a little bit, which was good. We need contrast. Contrast is what makes our art interesting. So we're going to go ahead and try this again. And I'm going to come in with my, this is Liquitex Heavy Body Paint in Titanium White, because I felt like now it's lacking some white. So I'm coming in with that on some of that texture created with the Mediterranean stamp, and just trying to bring in a little bit of a lighter color again for that contrast that is so necessary in our art. So I'm going to let you go ahead and watch this, and then we will, I'll come back in a moment. Sometimes our fingers are our best tool, because we can really control where we're putting things, which is really nice. And I love the feeling of the paint on my hands. So coming in again with that yellow medium paint, because now it seemed too white. So I'm being very, very gentle with this application, because I still want to see the white underneath the yellow. And again, with the texture, you have flatter places, and then you have peaks in the texture, and it's the peaks that I'm trying to really accentuate there. So, and this also helps to create that really beautiful kind of three-dimensional texture that we often see in mixed media projects like this. So really beautiful. And then just another close-up there where you can see just bits of that white and the bits of the yellow shining through. A really good balance, I believe. So really lovely. I got a lot of white on the base there. I was trying to remove it, but in the end it doesn't matter. It does not have to be perfect. So I just kind of let that go. So now we're going to work on getting our focal image down. I believe that we're ready for that. So I'm going to move my book out of the way, because I want to fold this so that my image spreads across both pages, with less on the left-hand page and more on the right. So I'm just giving you the, wait a minute, I gotta go get a missing product. So I'm getting my matte gel. This is Liquitex matte gel. It's really great for applying paper or anything really to a really bumpy, porous, textured surface, as well as I printed this image on 65-pound paper, so it is rather thick. So the matte gel allows me to get it on there a little bit better. So I'm just holding the paper up and just spreading that pretty generously all over the back of the paper. You will see me kind of fuss a little bit. I placed it down and then thought I needed to move it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch that for just a moment. And again, just because it's going over the spine there, I am just really making sure that it's adhering in that crease so that we don't have it popping up. It's a lot of glue. It's not going to go anywhere, but I just wanted to make sure it was not going to be an obstacle for the book opening and closing. So I do put parchment paper in between all of my pages, as you can see there. just to protect the surface, because most of my pages I do not seal. You're going to see that here in a moment. I am going to seal this whole page just using my fluid matte medium, because I didn't necessarily want to spray anything on the whole surface, because I've got a 3-dimensional element at the very end that I didn't really want affected. So here I'm coming in with the fluid matte medium, or I think this is maybe still the matte gel, and then I'm going to grab for my fluid matte medium and just go ahead and use my brush and apply a coat of matte medium all over the spread. I love the feeling of this image. It just makes me happy. And the inspiration, you know, we're talking about how it is really our responsibility as adults, especially, to plant our own gardens, meaning to create the life that we want, to not wait for other people to do it for us. So this picture reminds me of that idea of this beautiful girl. I mean, we can't see her face or anything, but you know, she looks very carefree in her bare feet, and she's gone and she's collected some flowers for herself. And I just thought, wow, what an incredible lesson. So I apologize, that skipped. I'm not sure what happened there. So yikes. This the process was fairly long, not as long as some of my others, and I needed to kind of edit it down and was really struggling with the best way to do that. So I apologize for the abruptness of that switch. So I printed my quote on tissue paper, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it. I'm going to try to apply it here on top of her dress, but the mistake that I made is I did not heat set the ink, and that's super important, especially when it's being put on tissue paper. If I had zapped that with a heat gun, this process would have worked beautifully, as I've done it dozens and dozens of times, but I did not do it here. So you're going to see a little bit of a faux pas coming up where I have to just pull that right back off and come up with a different solution, because I didn't want to go through the whole process of gluing on more tissue paper on a piece of copy paper, running that back through my printer. So I just came up with another idea. So again, back to the inspiration. So I just think it's a really valuable lesson that we can take control of our own happiness and our own joy by taking care of ourselves. And again, you can read more about that as we over on the blog. So here's where I could see that black ink was smudging and did not want that. So I just pulled it off. That's another beautiful thing about using tissue paper. So here I went off camera and I went ahead and just printed that again on some yellow cardstock, and I'm going to apply it with some glue squares, adhesive squares. So I hope that you'll hop on over to the blog and check it out. Thanks so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.